Hi, my name's James Lees and I'm Reserve Warden here at Slimbridge, and welcome to another episode of Wildlife Weekly. People often say to me that they don't look forward to the winter, or perhaps they get a little bit down with the dark nights closing in and the cold weather coming. It's the absolute opposite for me as a Reserve Warden here at Slimbridge. Absolutely love looking forward to winter and seeing these thousands of birds and the spectacles that come with them. It's not just us that are taking an interest in the large numbers of birds, but they draw the attention of other creatures too, and particularly species like fox, which will of course be out and about looking for any meal that they can find. And here we can see with the fox, this is a classic behaviour of birds. They'll actually mob the animal, birds flying behind it, calling, making sure that everyone is aware that it's there. We can often see many different species working together when they're looking out for predators. Fox normally would only be able to catch a healthy bird if it could sneak up on it. So with all the birds ganging up on them and making noise, they can draw everyone's attention to that predator. If you're just getting into wildlife watching, one of the tricks that we use as reserve wardens is quite often if there's a predator, all the surrounding birds will start alarm calling. We would have missed the animal slinking by quietly, but the sounds of the birds draw our attention to it. You can apply that kind of method to watching wildlife wherever you are. As predicted by Martin last week, the Swan-fall did happen, and we had about 70 Bewick swans arrive here at Slimbridge after their 2,500 mile migration from Arctic Russia. All of those birds will be keeping Julian Youth very busy this week.
So when there's a large number of swans arriving at once, the first thing we have to do is to scan the lake, and we go through each individual swan one by one. Each individual Bewick swan has a very different bill pattern. What we're looking for is whether we recognise these swans from years before. And if we do, that swan will have an identity already on our database, and we'll have a name and we'll record that on the register. If it's a swan we don't recognise, we will draw it, we'll photograph the bill pattern and give it a new name. Generally, about 300 to 400 swans come to Slimbridge each winter. So Steve and I have quite a lot to do to try and recognise all of them.
Of the new winter arrivals this week, the most noticeable of all are the Wigeon. And these are superb, very colourful ducks, which are coming as far as the Bewick swans, so travelling about 2,500 miles to get here. These are the sheep of the bird world, so they'll walking almost like a moving carpet across the wetland landscape, feeding on the grass shoots and just constantly keeping moving. Half of the flock will be feeding, half of the flock will be looking out for predators. Every now and again when someone spots danger and makes that alert call, all of the birds would take flight in this very dramatic, fantastic looking spectacle. And all the birds will crash into the lake, which they use as a safety zone. That behaviour, which happens throughout the daytime, is a fantastic sight. One of the highlights this week has been having 2 Glossy Ibis on site, and these fairly rare birds which come from the Mediterranean, there's been quite a good influx of them into the country recently. We can see in the footage the Glossy Ibis waking up after roosting on one of our lakes here at Slimbridge, and actually you can see there's actually some frost on the feathers and ice in the water. The slightly colder weather this week is almost certainly the reason that the Glossy Ibis have left here and headed south to find some warmer areas to feed. But the weather for the rest of the week looks like it may warm up a little bit, but keeping that northerly airflow, and that's the important factor for us. We should get an increase of wildfowl from Scandinavia and Arctic Russia arriving in the UK this week.